are you?
And how are you?
I'm okay. As okay as I can be in quarantine.
Can we compile all the resources we want to talk about?
It's on the drive.
Oh, I love you so much. So welcome to the Be More podcast.
Oh, are we starting now? Jesus.
Start.
Before we begin though, I have to text my family that we're fucking filming and not to come downstairs. So one second.
Solid. Welcome to the Be More podcast. This is Brittany.
I'm Maria, and today we're gonna talk about Covid-Spiracy theories.
Bum, bum, bum.
Which there are a lot of on the internet, but we have three main ones. Well, one big one and then two little ones that I've gotten word from.
I feel like I did exactly what I always do, where I kind of I started blowing up the bubble about this conspiracy stuff and sending you stuff that I saw, and then you just got excited and you kept blowing the bubble up, and I was like, oh look, another bubble.
Yes, literally. This happens every single time we get so excited about new information.
Because I am a squirrel mentality, and I'm like, oh, shiny?
Yeah.
Be shiny.
And I'm like, absolutely. Where's the next shiny thing?
And then Maria's like, let me investigate this shiny thing. And I'm like, 3 shiny things later.
But the main, should we start with the main, well, hold on, let me back up. We'll probably start with the two smaller ones that are on our little Google Doc, and then we'll go to the main documentary that we saw, correct?
Yeah.
Because the other two seem so out there. They seem just not even viable to me. So the first one is that I don't know who Roger Stone is, but he's suggesting that Bill Gates may have some hand in the creation of the coronavirus.
You know what I'm gonna do?
Yeah.
Use my.
I can Google him.
I'm gonna use my zoomy abilities, and I'm gonna share the article we're talking about.
Oh, share our screen. Oh, wow.
Can you see it?
Not yet. Hold on.
Hold on.
It started sharing screen. Oh, look at you using technology.
Ta-da! I know.
Okay, I can see it now. So this Roger Stone guy, I don't know who he is.
That's who he is. That's who he is right there.
Who is he?
I don't know.
I'm going to Google him. So he is an American political consultant, lobbyist, author, and convicted felon. Sick.
I was just going to say, I just saw that he was on trial.
Yeah, he's saying that Bill Gates started or had a hand in this about microchips and stuff. Again, I don't believe this shit.
I think that this is a fun one, but I mean, this guy's ability has now been kicked to the curb, seeing that he's
a convicted felon.
Yeah, convicted. I mean, not to say that people. It's one thing to be a convicted felon, but to be a politician who's a convicted felon, you're just.
That's another layer.
You're just adding icing on the cake there for yourself. And the top of the cake says, "Don't listen to what I say."
Precisely.
But yeah, this is a fun one.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that pops up on the internet.
I mean, there are so many of those things that's just Big Brother. This is going to be the start of the Big Brother revolution that we all saw coming.
Mm-hmm. I love 1984.
Me too. So if you're looking for entertainment, I'm surprised it's actually not a series.
What? Oh, 1984?
That concept. Yeah, the concept of that hasn't become a drama.
I mean, you have Big Brother, the reality TV show.
Yeah, and you have other Big Brother concept, The Handmaid's Tale, kind of plays off of that idea.
True.
Which is a solid show that people should watch if you don't. But yeah, I think this is just an interesting.
It's one of those that are out there. I mean, I don't believe it. This seems dumb to me. So that's one of the things.
Yeah, it's definitely. So this is definitely something to go in and read. I mean, I do understand. I feel it's just easy to so many people are looking for scapegoats and looking for people to place blame on, and
for sure.
Big tech. I think it definitely, once more word got out about the non-natural aspects of what the virus looks like on like a molecular level. Like people were just like, all right, who are the tech people that would get behind something like this?
Right. And like Bill Gates is like one of the top 3 people that you think of when you think of tech. So
right.
people are just like, Bill Gates is behind this.
Right. So I just what are you expecting from that face? It's kind of how I'm feeling.
So there's that one. So this is another conspiracy theory about like there's new 5G towers being being built or whatever, and those frequencies for the new wireless like technology is causing impairment in the human immune system.
So now we're taking it and turning it into like a Marvel plot theme, right?
Yeah.
Like a superhero plot theme gone really
like radiation is going to cause us to mutate.
So are they saying that the radiation essentially is what caused the virus to mutate and made it susceptible to humans?
No, they're saying, from my understanding, is that these 5G towers, the radiation or whatever they're giving off, the frequencies that are giving off, is having an effect on our immune system. So that's why we're more susceptible to this virus. And I'm like, I mean,
there's a research out about like the specific spikes that are on the virus that are like what has changed it and like unlocked the ability for them to get into our cells.
The virus itself, right? Like it's mutating itself, right? What you're saying? Yeah.
Yeah. Like there's we'll go into that when we talk about like that video.
Yeah. Which I mean, I can agree to. I mean, viruses, they mutate all the time. I mean, the flu virus, every freaking flu season mutates. That's why you have to get a vaccine.
We've never seen like a big, I'm just like scrolling through this, but people, if you want these things, will definitely put access to these things is this one the same kind of idea? Oh my god.
Yeah, essentially. It's just a different.
Except the cookies. Oh my gosh. All right. 5G is the killer.
5G is the killer. I don't believe this one either. I mean, I don't know.
That's fine only for use by emergency services. But then, like, how do you connect to this starting in China then?
I don't know, because these are like European towers, right? Like UK, Netherlands. I don't remember where else, but those I think are the main 2. See, look, they even go back to like the 3G.
Yeah, the 3G era.
I don't believe it.
I mean, let's be real though. We know.
Yeah.
We know that radiation, we know that like even like Bluetooth, when I still like it's definitely something that's quieted in my brain since starting to use it, but like the concept of Bluetooth, the concept of like anything that's like wireless, like those, even the signals when you're on the phone, like that's going through your body.
I agree.
Like it has to be going through your body. So are there effects of that? Yes. Do I think that like a virus mutated out of it? No. Do I think that it's affecting your immune system and like your bodily functioning? Probably. Like I totally could agree with that. Like some of the things that we're exposing ourselves to could definitely be links to like what's helping cancer to like spread through the body, like things like that. There are some moments that like where I become extremely aware. Let me see if I can figure out how to stop sharing again. Where I become extremely aware of that. So like, do you ever notice when you are like, if you're listening to music Bluetooth, right? And you like, if you put your body like in between, like, so if I have my phone connected to a speaker and like I'm standing between my phone and the speaker, like the music doesn't play.
I haven't had that happen, but like if I move my phone farther away with me, like it'll stop playing.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've had like moments of like, especially when I'm teaching.
Yeah.
Or like when I'm doing something, if I put my body between it, or like people get there, like something like your body's getting in the way of like those signals. Like it's obviously going into you and you're absorbing it versus it getting to where it's supposed to be.
Right.
Some of the times that would freak me out. And tell me if you ever had this moment where like if I'm sitting we have like a computer and we have like the speakers. Yeah. With the large speakers. And my phone will be by the desk, by the speakers. And when I have, when a message is about to come in, my speakers will like, zzz, like a little bit. Yeah. My speakers will.
I can see that.
I'm about to get a message because it's so, like my phone like the sounds are coming in, and because the speakers are highly sensitive, they're like responding to, like, because they're big speakers.
Yeah.
They're responding to it.
Yeah, because the waves probably go through them first, and then
2 seconds later, my phone will buzz. And at first, when it used to happen, it used to freak me out. But now I kind of like, now I know.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It just shows you like that, you know, it's traveling, and it's funny. I feel like it's funny when people
It's funny to think about, though.
Well, yeah, but it's just like it has to come from somewhere, and it's just like sound waves. Like
I agree completely.
Just like sound waves, an energy wave.
No, I agree, and like sometimes you can feel the sound wave if it's like loud enough, you know.
Oh yeah, like the vibrations.
Completely. Absolutely, but I think in terms of technology and like our phones and like whatever else, like I feel like people just take it for granted and like don't understand the concept of like waves, like, you know, like when it comes
like
to
how
this stuff,
how energy travels,
right? Like Bluetooth, like we just kind of like assume that like something's happening between like our phone and like our speaker, but like not the implications of like what's actually happening.
Like like the way that energy is being transmitted.
Yeah.
Totally. And like energy that's not, this is another fun thing that I love because it talks about the body, but like when people try to say like we don't have any, like electricity is something that's so not human, but like we have it running through
our bodies. Your
nervous system is literally like a network of electricity that's running through your body. Like
we're literally just like a sack of meat and electricity. Like it makes no sense.
Right, you're a sack of meat and energy, and it's like it's different, right? Like the electricity of like light and things like that is a different. It's not a natural, like it's not a natural system of energy. Right? Your body is a natural system of energy. So like the two things coming together, I definitely see it like opening us up for potential like, well, things are going to mutate, things can go wrong. Do I see 5G as being something that could have like created this to happen? Not necessarily.
No.
I think that there's like a not possibility of that becoming like an issue in the future. Definitely not. Like I totally see like maybe not necessarily Hulk reactions, but like things happening, you know? There being a negative consequence. And I would say, I could argue that I kind of do believe like things like cancer, things like maybe not the creation of cancer, because we do enough on our own to like open ourselves up to be susceptible of like having pathogens in our body. But the way that things are able to spread and survive, and the lack of support that our body has in being able to fight these like stranger things that we're kind of bringing into the world. I don't put that past like our advancement. But yeah. Okay. So wait, I have to put going back over here.
So those. So on that note, those are the two smaller ones.
Oh my gosh! All right. So let's dive into the Epoch.
Yes, let's dive into the Epoch documentary, which
wow.
Yeah, number one, wow. Number two, before you sent me that documentary, I got this newspaper in the mail, like maybe a few days ago. Like a few days before you sent me the documentary.
Hold on, I gotta stop.
Stop what?
Okay, look, because I couldn't see it. I was on the right. Okay. How the Chinese Communist Party endangered the world.
Look who it's from.
Of course it is, because now I want to know more about the Epoch Times, though. Like
me too, because I don't subscribe to this. It literally is one of those like, I guess just like marketing things where they just put this in people's mailboxes. Because no one in this house subscribes to this, and I got it. I was like, all right, this is interesting. And then you sent me this documentary a few days later. I was like, this is crazy. And so yeah, I think it essentially. I mean, do you want to like? What? Oh, you're looking at the Epoch Times?
Yeah.
Like, what do they stand for? Like, are they
in 2000?
Okay. Because it seems like
I'm very confused. Wait, are you ready for this?
Yeah.
So the history that just comes up on it. Okay, people, just to clarify, so research engines are different than search engines. Looking on a scholarly place for like actual research and like data is not the same as searching for something on Google and getting an answer. So please, everything that you take off of the internet, take off with a grain of salt, because that's what I'm doing right now and why I have a puzzled face. And I'm definitely thinking about it before I make an assumption. But
bless.
Just a side note, because it bothers me. So what I'm seeing in history that's coming off of Wikipedia, grain of salt, is that it was founded in 2000 by a man named John Tang and other Chinese American associations.
Okay. Go on.
So as a response, like be able to, apparently they're responding to like honestly probably the government in China, period.
Yeah, if they're Chinese American, I would assume so.
Yeah. And it's connected to a yeah, it just looks like it's like a sympathetic paper to what's going on in
China.
In China with governments in China. Their tagline says, so now if I go to their website, their tagline says they're based in truth and tradition. Like that's their thing. It says it's unbiased. I don't believe that people can be unbiased, so that just kind of bothers me.
No, especially no.
Like I just don't think we all have biases. Like that's
right.
What happens. It says fact-based and unbiased. You're clearly not unbiased. You just, especially if you're outright saying that, right? You're just
like
not unbiased. There's no way.
You're literally telling me like the Chinese Communist Party endangered the world. That's like a heavy, you know.
Yeah, you're not like teetering.
You're not like maybe. Like you're not like this might be, but also this might not be. Like no, you're actually saying like it actually endangers the world.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm that makes it much more interesting. So is it coming out as is it coming out as a way to just continue to like criminalize the Chinese government? But here's the thing, and that was something when I first started watching it, I was like, all right, like this is gonna be just like a bunch of like propaganda. But they're like pulling
facts. Well, not okay. I can't tell if it's facts or not, but they're pulling straight scientific.
Right, it looks like they're pulling from research.
Yeah,
so
and like
part was that like you have to go to serious lengths to like do something like that. Is it possible?
Right.
Totally. But does it make it look like better?
It makes it look so credible.
I wonder if okay, wait. Sorry, I'm clicking again.
Did I?
I wonder if you can find the. Actually, why am I doing it on my computer? I have my phone in front of me, making more things difficult. I wonder if you can find the SARS virus like research.
Probably. I mean, it has to be published somewhere.
Research articles.
Yeah, because they did pull Chinese research articles during the documentary. Okay,
right,
a little background on this. A little background on this documentary that we keep like alluding to.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we didn't talk about any of it yet.
It's from this Epoch Times people that I think it circulated. Well, you gave me the Facebook link, but the link that I'm going to provide on the description is like from their website, like from Epoch.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Because your Facebook link like expired. I was like, all right, that's weird. So they must have pulled it from Facebook. But it's like an hour and a half, I think, split into like 3 parts, like kind of like.
And did you watch them all at once? Because I couldn't.
I did. I had to like. I did. But I paused it to take some notes and then kept playing. Like it was a journey.
Yeah, it really. That's why we definitely don't encourage you to watch it all at once because you definitely need some time to process holy resources.
Right.
But I am.
But it's very interesting because
I mean, there are a lot of research. I don't remember the name of the specific woman that they talked about that was a scientist that was involved and connected everything. But there
Chang Li. I have her name on the thing.
Oh, wait, what'd you say?
Chang Li. I don't know if I'm saying this completely wrong.
Because she's not on that article that I pulled up. So that's kind of what needs to happen is we need to have like people that come out on the next part and like really share the research articles and say, Dr.
Chang Li.
Okay, I can do that. But to actually say this. So here's, like, we don't want to, obviously not going to show the whole video, but let's give you an overview. And if you want to watch it, go for it.
Absolutely.
So, you can start and we can fill out just.
Okay. So I have a bunch of notes. I think this is pretty much in the order of the documentary, obviously. But the beginning part is basically like the Chinese Communist Party is basically behind all this. They literally start with that within the first, 10 minutes maybe.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, all right, that's questionable, I guess. Let's like that's, I feel like their hypothesis, right? Like if we're taking this in like a scientific way that they kind of
Yeah,
did
I
it.
think it really was. The video was trying to like argue a point through research. Like it was definitely a hypothesis. Totally.
Right, exactly. So they're saying that the Communist Party is behind all this, and they allude to like the related Hong Kong protests that happened last year, which I have little knowledge about this, like, but I'm pretty sure it
This
says
isn't the first time it's been said either.
what?
Like this isn't the first time that there was a theory that happening as a result of like trying to like brutally responding to
all the riots and the anti-government and whatnot.
Yeah, this was like an act of force in government.
Right, because I remember the very first, like when everyone was calling it the coronavirus still, as opposed to COVID-19, which we'll talk about that later. They were saying that this was like biological warfare, and this was back in like January.
Yeah.
And then people were saying like, you know, because of the Hong Kong protests, because the population is getting super old, like they're just kind of just like, here's the next plague kind of situation. So this isn't like too foreign. Like this might be a government thing. So fine. So that's what they opened up on, right?
Yeah. And they started talking about, they started addressing the root of it, right?
Yeah.
And this is why I thought, whether it's true or not, just for argument's sake and the way they presented it was very good, because I'm the kind of person who's skeptical against everything. And if you can actually bring like some form of science to like make it, I'm like, I can stand behind that because it makes sense. When you think about it afterwards, a lot of it made sense.
Right.
But towards to think that they were doing this, 100%. Was it surprising when you are maybe aware and jaded like Maria and I? Not really. You're not that surprised. Are you saddened by it? Totally, but you're not that surprised.
I'm not surprised. But yeah, the way that they presented this whole documentary, for any average person, seems very credible.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like very, very good at it.
Very credible. Like even for me, I was like, this is dangerous.
And it brings it to another level to know that, like the guy who was talking, the guy who claimed to be the journalist who was in charge of everything, definitely makes it seem like it's coming from like a very American standpoint. But now you know that the Epoch Times is a Chinese American, so it's like, was that done intentionally? Like there's
exactly like
on behind that,
right?
To have somebody give like, it seemed like he was giving an American perspective, but if that's what the articles in the paper is from a totally different community, then it's, and he didn't, not to like, I don't know, he didn't come out to say if he was Chinese American himself. So it leads to like a lot of other questions of like actual credibility, but the storyline of the way they really addressed everything made total sense. So they started to dive into, aside from like talking about the Chinese, like it being a like response to everything in the protests and everything, they started to dive into where the claims were made about where it had originated.
Right.
And that very much made sense. So they bring you into the Hunan. Am I saying Hunan? Right?
Hunan? I don't know. I don't know Chinese.
That sounds nicer. I'm just asking you if I'm saying it right.
It looks like, to me, it looks like Hunan seafood market. All right, it's a seafood market.
They say it in the video. I don't remember how to say it right.
Right.
I'm going to use seafood market. I am not intentionally trying to butcher any language, so we're just going to call it this.
Yeah, disclaimer, market. I don't know what dialect any of this is in Chinese.
I feel like I've heard Hunan. I feel like I've heard Huanan too. Huanan.
We don't know.
We don't know.
Chinese is hard enough.
So we're going to go
forget that I don't know any of the inflections, like Huanan. We're going to go with Huanan.
I don't even do English. Right. I don't do English right, guys. All right. So they're talking about how the first, and it was very interesting too, because I had not had a lot of prior information about like
where patient zero was,
like the origins and everything. So when they started talking about the seafood market and started to like, the best thing, I love things that poke holes in things. I love that. Yeah. And this immediately was like poke, poke, poke. So it started talking about the seafood market and like the first cases and how it made no sense, right? How are you pulling like a virus from bats from a fish market? Like,
right, because I literally, my notes, you see my train of thoughts right here? It was like 12/30/2019, first case of pneumonia. COVID virus found from wild animals sold to market. And I was like, LOL, just kidding? Like,
right. And
Because then they go on, they're like, okay, so patient 0 was not connected to the market because no bats are sold in the market.
Right.
But the way that they were reporting it in the news was that
Bats
it came from the seafood market.
Yeah, and I heard that there were other things of like bats had gone in and then it got in the food, and it's like, where the hell are you getting bats in the middle of like a
seafood?
like it's not even like that town has like woods somewhere. Like you're in the middle of the city. Like there are no bats. I'm sorry. There are no bats there except for the one that are in the laboratory. So we'll get there. So that was just like that seems weird. Like how is that possible? That seems weird. Mm-hmm. And then you come to find later too, we're still really finding out like this might not have even been the first place, right? You're finding out that people had been like symptomatic and were just being overlooked like in October, like things that just just a lack of awareness and a lack of really understanding. Like I think that right now is a perfect example of like, we don't know what the hell we're talking about, but we're going to talk about it like we do. We're seeing it with the president over and over again. We're seeing it with other leaders in other countries.
Yesterday, right? Was it yesterday or the day before? Just a time check. Just a time check on when we're filming this. It's April 26th.
You want to know what scares me though?
What?
This is like a side note about what's currently going on with COVID. And are you referring to something aside from like the talking about like disinfectants?
I'm just talking about that. Like
okay, his whole let's address this.
This whole bat.
So when I first saw, and I'm sure like many people probably had the same response I did, like you get up in the morning, like you're doing your stuff, and like I don't go on like technology for like a solid amount of time before like I'm awake, and like one of the first
good for you
when I go on social media is like a picture of like a Lysol inhaler.
Oh my god,
it's going on right now.
Yeah,
and, like I keep scrolling, and there's like all these other memes. Using it right now.
Memes.
There's all these other memes related to like injecting or ingesting like
disinfectants
and chemicals and stuff.
And like Tide Pods again.
And I just sit there and I was like, all right, who did this? Like who
started this?
Who started this? Because I don't think it's like there are some things that I'm like, haha, but there are some things that I just don't think you should laugh at, because there are people that already had issues with doing this prior. And like people like mental disorders who like don't feel clean, who feel the need, like you've heard those stories before, I'm sure, where like if you have like a psychological issue and like you feel like you're dirty or you don't feel clean, like people have like committed suicide like ingesting Clorox because they have something wrong, right? Where they it's like an obsessive behavior. There's a word for it. I can't think of like the actual.
I mean, it's partially OCD, isn't it?
Right, like, but you're creating a culture of like not only like mocking that, but also like blatantly talking about like, oh, you should do it, and like people who don't have, this is the danger of social media and just like technology in general. If we don't end humanity, but on like radiation and like the things that we do to our bodies biologically, it's what we're going to do to ourselves mentally.
For sure.
But you're putting all of this information out there, and all I can think to myself is, what a slap in the face, a different version of a slap in the face to like medical workers and healthcare people, because not only are they overrun with people who are having symptoms of COVID and trying to treat, now you're going to have unfortunate souls that are going to be like emergency room, like coming into the emergency room, flooding the emergency room because they ingested Clorox. Something just ridiculous. It's going to take it another step further, because you just, and it's just absolute ignorance. It's absolute lack. And I don't like to talk about politics because it gets me very frustrated, but I've said this from the beginning. The reason why I get frustrated with politicians and so many politicians that we see and people that are running our country right now is that there's a very, talking about being biased, there's an unawareness of their own biases. Like, if you take somebody who has had a very specific American life, right? A very not impoverished, not have any issues, very sheltered, very like white American, and like not having any awareness or having to give a shit about anybody else other than themselves. And then you put them in positions of power. They cannot possibly make the connection of saying, I shouldn't say this because of how it could possibly negatively affect these different types of people. Because you know what, in minds of so many people who are just unaware, not tapped into just communities,
blindly trusting whoever's in charge.
Right. That's an issue.
All they know.
And when they have no concept of awareness of other people, you might not even think to say like, oh, ha ha ha, let me say this on worldwide television, like, go rub some Clorox in your open wound. Like,
and like, it's funny because once that happened, he was like, I didn't say that. Well, or like, he was like, I was being sarcastic. I was like, sarcasm or not, like, you shouldn't be saying it.
Yeah, but that's like, it really just takes on the lack, and we said this in other episodes, like the lack of awareness, the lack of humanness is killing our existence right now.
And this kind of goes back to the
and like just human existence.
Yeah, and this also kind of comes back to the documentary, like the lack of transparency and the awareness of like there are other people besides like your political affiliation that are being affected.
But that's the issue with power, right?
I mean, yeah, because you want to stay in power. If you have the power, you want to stay in power.
And that's politics needs to be like, politics is not about politics. Politics is about power. And like, if we don't start redefining that, like, this is where you're getting into these issues. Okay, so let's keep talking about like the rest of the documentary, because it's going to keep going into more of this, right? So
where are you?
That's not connected to the bats, and then they start poking holes into like the whole market outbreak, and then you hear about how like right after it happened, it was like ground zero, and like everything was shut down, and everybody was sitting there with masks, and it was just like this crazy response that like why for something that, you know, if you obviously know more than we do if this is the way you're responding.
Correct.
Like, so just starting out and telling people like, oh, it's a flu, it's a version of the flu, it's a version of pneumonia, and then you send people.
But let's shut down the whole market.
What's happening?
Yeah.
And then you start shutting down the town.
But then you find out though, like the Communist Party still is ignoring everything.
Right.
Like they're suppressing all the info, and they allude to the SARS outbreak in 2003.
Yeah. This is where you start to get just poor communication and like misinformation. And this is where things start to crack.
And also, do you remember the SARS outbreak?
No, not even a little bit.
2003, like we were 10. Like the
thing is, the only thing that I remember about that time, like you're talking really close to 9/11, so like
right. So like in the American eyes,
that's all I.
Like in the American eyes, like I don't. Okay, so I vaguely remember the SARS outbreak only because like I would go to the Philippines every summer, right? So over there, like I'm gonna look this up. How many people died? Over there is more prevalent. So like I heard about it a little bit, but like I didn't know that like how many people actually died and where it came from. But so the SARS appeared in like 2003 in like China,
right?
And it went worldwide, but it didn't hit the US.
Let's talk about the origins of this. So go back to the origins, because this is going to bring it back to like the bats. This is something that came as a virus, right? That was related to bats. It was a strain that was able to affect humans.
Exactly. So, which is very similar to the COVID-19 virus right now. I'm literally on Wikipedia about the SARS outbreak. So, disclaimer at whatever I just
guys, literally everything on the internet is theories anyway, so we're just pushing that more.
Right. So, it originated in China again. And in the documentary, again, they say that this could have been stopped if the Chinese Communist Party just gave everyone information that this was happening in their world, in their world, basically their world, in their country.
Yeah.
So the SARS outbreak lasted 8 months. 8 months. So how many died and how many cases? Okay, so this is an outbreak. 9,000 cases, 700 deaths.
Wow.
That's it in light of what is happening right now.
Right. That's
like that still sucks.
And like, you're also talking about like there's no other country in the world that has media like we do.
Mm-hmm.
So like you're also talking about like probably not able to have potentially like the resources to be able to give the free speech and give the information, right?
Right. It's whole different.
But like that's still like astounding to me. And like the more okay, so let's keep going with this, right?
Yeah.
So they talk about how like SARS, you know, was a virus that had affected humans. And it seemed like, you know, it was just a virus that had mutated and people had gotten sick because they had like a weakened immune system, all of this stuff. And definitely more information is still probably needed on that aspect of it, but then let's keep going into the epoch story. So
you see, like, my next point is that, going back to SARS, it was like the SARS in the fact that 88% of whatever this virus is similar to the SARS like virus.
but the differences are what just like
blows everyone's mind because, like, okay, 8,000 people were confirmed in 2002, but now there's about like 3 million in the world right now.
So you're talking about how do you take something that seems, and now we're going to get into like the fun part for me. How do you take something that naturally seems dangerous, but like doesn't have the strength to have a level of impact on humans, and then somehow it turns into something that is just over the course of 10 years, right? That it's just dormant for 10 years or more than that, 13 years. Wait, you said 2003 or 2007?
3.
Okay, so 20 years later, and it all of a sudden comes back with like a vengeance and is able to just wipe out human existence. Like how does that happen? And
right, and if you're in terms of numbers, right? So the SARS outbreak, what did I say, it was 6 months long? 8 months. 8 months. Yeah. 9,000 cases. If we're taking like December as like the start of the COVID-19, like 5 months and 3 million people.
Yeah.
Like this is
comparisons are astronomical.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
let's talk about the differences, and I want to hear your thoughts about this. So filling in those gaps, right? We get kind of affecting people. It's definitely like having a major impact and is catastrophic in the worlds that, like you said, in the worlds of people that it's affecting. But on a larger scale worldwide, not having this big impact. 20 years later, it comes back. Haven't seen it in forever. Oh my goodness, major effect on the world.
Yeah.
How do you get there? So what this documentary starts uncovering is that there have been people in China who have been studying the SARS virus, specifically this is what blew my mind, specifically how to make it into a weapon, essentially. How
transferable from animals to humans. Like they specifically spell out that in the Wuhan institution, I don't remember.
Yeah.
Whatever.
In Wuhan, where the seafood market is, right? That's the biggest thing you want to have.
Right. They're saying in the Wuhan Institution of Research, whatever it's called. I literally can't remember. I don't remember if I wrote it on here. Whatever.
The important part is the area where they study viruses.
They literally were like, we have this SARS virus. How do we make this like what happens when it mutates, but then what happens when it's also like transferable to humans? They literally wanted to make, this is the documentary speaking, they wanted to make it transferable to humans.
I'm sorry, but and I'm going to curse, so cover your ears, children. For fuck's sake, why are you studying that? Like, what is the actual reason that you have for studying that? And because
it would be one thing, right, if they contained it, but you can't. Like, if you all of a sudden make it transferable to human bodies, you're studying the patient zero, right? Assuming patient zero comes from them. Because that's also in the documentary, like patient zero actually came from Wuhan's institution.
Right.
But once that patient zero has it,
and you don't know anything else about it.
You don't know anything about it, and like now we know it's airborne. But what if they didn't? Like, and now you're just infecting everyone around you.
Or more importantly, what if they did? Right. This is where you get into other aspects of it. So I want to talk about the two specific things in terms of the like actual molecular makeup of it that just solidified my belief in saying, well, fuck, we did it now. That was kind of like my, okay, this is the point where this happens. So my biggest things about it were when you look and compare, I wonder if I could find a picture. Sorry for my fingers and my clicking.
Yeah, Brittany's webcam is on the bottom. I don't know if we've ever said this, but her webcam is on the bottom of her laptop. Unlike, normal webcams where they're at the top, they're at the bottom.
Cool. It's funny, go figure, because I was like, I'm never going to use my webcam. Who cares? And that's
and yet here we are.
And here, it's
okay.
I got it as a gift, so I love it. I don't know. I can't find it. But if you look at the actual genetic makeup of the virus, if we're talking about like enzymes, and we're going to get into the science of it, which is why I like this.
Not my forte.
I lost my notes. Okay. So we're going to get into this and what they bring up in the video, which is why I was like, that makes sense to me. They're talking about essentially the way that your cells work and your enzymes work and things work. There's like a lock and key system, right? You need to have the lock that, like the puzzle piece that fits in with the puzzle piece on the cell to be able to unlock it to give a virus access. And the difference between the SARS virus and the SARS virus didn't have that key, didn't have that ability to fit into the enzyme on the cell to unlock it to give it access. But the COVID-19 one, somehow one of the biggest genetic changes to this to this
and
virus
protein, whatever.
It now has this, it has like the little phalanges. It now has the enzyme in it that's going to help it to get into the human. So aside from that, the other thing, which is like, I'm sorry, but like, I can't, and there are other people now, the biggest thing to say in this too is that there's a woman in this video who's an American like virologist who studied viruses for like years, along with a lot of other like accredited like people in work.
Yeah, they brought in a few people. Yeah,
who, like have conversations about this. But this woman flat out says like, this is not possible. Like she's been doing this for 40 years. She's like, this is not possible for nature to do by itself. For nature to just like somehow create this like huge shift and make this weapon on its own. Like this,
which is so powerful.
Right. That I was like, what? So that's the first thing. And I was like, well, fuck. And then when you look at the actual DNA strands of the virus, everything compared to SARS is the same, except one major aspect. It looks like, and this is the part that blows my mind, and where we really need to take a look at like how in the hell is it possible for us to overcome this and what the future is going to look like, because there is literally looks like a cut, copy, and paste part of what comes from HIV. Yeah, they did mention that has been put into the COVID-19, which means it's not curable, which means it could sit dormant in your body without you realizing it's there, which means it doesn't go away. Yeah. Right. And you can have that's terrifying for the rest of your life. And that's literally what has been pulled out. And there's no way in hell that is happening on its own. It's just not possible for that clean of a cut and like that transit. Like, how is that transitioning within nature? It just doesn't, it's just not. So if that is a truth, like the way that we are approaching this is like the amount of like fear that's involved in this, and people are not realizing like if this is what's actually going on inside this virus, and you can't say like hopes for vaccinations, hopes for this and that. Like you really, really have to redefine the way that we're living, right? You have to address the root of it, and it's information that needs to be given to people. Like people should really know this is exactly, don't just tell people these are the symptoms, because fuck that, they're gonna go on WebMD and everyone's gonna die in 2 weeks. But you should really be addressing and giving out the information that says, this is the very clear difference, and this is what this means, and this is the steps that we have to take. And I feel like it's just coming, the way that it's being handled, politically, is so ass backwards in the fact of like, we're trying to manage all your fear, but we're also putting all this fear into you at the same time. And then we're going to try to cover all this up and not give you actual information, because people are now losing their fucking minds, because exactly what we talked about when we were talking about this in the beginning, when this first started happening, like the mental health of it all was going to start to like get to people. People are losing their minds because you're telling them they can't do anything, but you're not actually giving them a resource or an actual end.
And that's the thing though. I feel like mentally, we don't know when this is going to end, and like soon isn't viable anymore. Like the word soon, like I don't know what that means. Like
anymore. Even defining what the end looks like.
Right. Like what is the other side going to see? What are we going to see in the other side?
End. And like actually addressing the fact, like I had this moment yesterday for myself, actually addressing the fact that there is no going back to our lives the way that they were. There just will not be. We don't know what the future is going to look like, and it's literally going to be a day-by-day thing, which is going to require people to have a lot of patience, right? And have a lot of just like emotional awareness that we've just swept under the rug for such a long time. But there's no going back, there's only going forward, and we have to go through to get there. And the future's going to have to look different. But going back to what's in the like they were saying, and like we're talking about, there's been a woman in this virology center who's been specifically studying and and mutating this virus.
Yeah, for years. For like even before SARS, I think, is what had happened.
Yeah, that she's been studying her bats for the entire, I think, the length of her career, right?
Right, and like I literally call her out that she's like fucking badass female researcher because she is like at the like forget all this like whatever, like that's fucking crazy if you can do that.
Yeah.
Like all this research, like this is absolutely insane. But
just use it for good or evil, we're gonna have
that's a whole different
we're gonna have
story.
opinions about.
We're gonna have opinions about that. But so see, she researched the coronaviruses, which I had a question to like just myself. I was like, okay, where did the term coronavirus come from? Like, like what does that mean? Like, what is a coronavirus? Right? Like, does it specifically call out the virus that we get from bats? Like, that's just whatever. So that was just a question. I don't know, whatever. But so she's been researching cross-species transmissions from bats into human bodies back in 2015 is what I have. But this could go further back before SARS. But in the documentary, it says that she made a synthetic virus to replicate the effect on human bodies, which were tested on rats and primates.
Right.
And this is from the documentary. And they pull a lot of, here's what is crazy about this, is that they pull a lot of outside research and have screenshots.
Yeah, like they literally, that's the part that we were like, you have to take a lot of effort to like manipulate that to make it false. So,
and like,
but it's not possible, but that's a lot.
I know. And like, all the research is in Chinese, obviously. And like, again, I get that they pulled a lot of outside third party research, whatever, and they got a lot of people in, whatever, but it's still like, I have to take it with a grain of salt. Like, all right, like what is this actually saying? Like in the paper, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Because it is in a different language and I can't just easily be like Google Translate. Like it's like, you know?
Yeah.
But in essence, this woman just literally dedicates her life to like researching all these like coronavirus cross species, all this stuff.
Yeah.
Which I think is fucking bat, pun intended, batshit crazy. I didn't even mean to say that, but it just came out.
It was perfect. I loved it.
And because it goes back to what we said, like, why do you want to do this? Like who told you to do this? Like, clearly, like, to get your institution funded, like, that's from the government, isn't it? Is that how, like, that usually works?
Right. Well, they did that whole thing at the end, right, in part 3, where they talked about, like, so who's behind all of that, right? Who's behind the studies. But I like how you kind of put, like, more pinpoints of, like, the timeline on here. So you're getting, now, while all of this is happening, right, people are finding out, right, that the Virology Center has been studying this. There's information coming out from WHO, there's information coming out that's like, oh, people have pneumonia. Oh, don't do this. Oh, go do that. Oh, don't do this. Oh, like, do this, don't do that. What we're seeing in the world right now, when people are going to be walking the streets, like, purging soon.
It's already happening.
This has been happening in China, right?
Yeah.
And people are just very confused and very frustrated and very scared, which they have the right to be. And when leadership's not being fully, like you said, transparent communication, people are confused. So they're getting all these emails out that are saying like, oh, everything's gonna be fine. Oh, this is what's going on. And then you start getting people who come out, right? Like I love that. You have like on 3 different instances in the first weeks of February, like people are starting coming out, these whistleblowers are coming out from this institute and are saying like this came from us.
Right. And they're saying patient 0. Yeah, patient 0 was a fellow researcher is what they're saying. But yeah, different instances. I think the first instance I put was January when there was an email out from the institution. So like not do shit or like this is some pneumonia's going on, like blah, blah, blah. And in February. Right. But then that's too late. Like, that's the thing. I mean,
it super begs the question of, right, if the Communist Party is behind it, right? Yeah. How are they letting that information get out, right? They obviously don't want that information to get out. So why would it be falsified, right? And it's like, but at the same time, for people like the Epoch Times who might want to like villainize, I mean, they do a good enough job villainizing themselves. They don't need any help, but they want to make more of a bigger villain character out of the Communist Party. It's great to be able to make up right? To be able to say that. It creates a really strong argument against the Communist Party, but
For sure.
it starts to, you get more information that like definitely creates this nice little, it funnels in on the target of like, this is the CCP's fault.
Right.
Like, it's
Like that's
very
the
strong to be able to say that.
like once like this whole documentary is literally like communism is bad. Like it like
right. That's literally the essence. Which I mean, hopefully people didn't like, if that's really the essence of the argument, like hopefully people didn't need this whole video to know that. But on a bigger scale, it brings you into what's been happening within the Communist Party, right? They start to talk about like all the nuclear like research and warfare they've been doing. All of the
they even got like,
we know they've been happening.
Did they get like an American, I don't know if he was part of like the military. I can't remember what his role is, but
CIA.
Was he? Yeah. He was like, yeah, I was there for the SARS outbreak, and it was literally the same thing. But this is 10 times worse because obviously millions of people are now being infected. But
right.
But you can tell that like they haven't budged any policies, thing.
And very clearly, like this is where it becomes an issue of like governments, right? Governments are very quick to blame each other.
For sure.
And like very quick to say like, oh, you didn't do what you were supposed to do, or you didn't do what you were supposed to do. And it's like, that's not helping the problem.
Mm-hmm. And then they even mentioned like the French government. Like I don't know anything about French and Chinese politics, honestly. I can barely keep up with American politics, but they bring in other country politics, like the French and the Chinese government are working together. I don't know. Like I haven't done research on that.
That part's crazy. What it seems like they do is they're talking about how like the Communist Party has just been building these alliances for years, right? And trying to get people so that something was to happen, if they were to create this biological warfare aspect, that other countries would be behind them if something were to happen, right? Which is like right now, right? Something's happening. Mm-hmm. Why are we not like standing up to them, or really, if it comes down, so many
allies,
right? If it comes down to like even with the WHO and all that bullshit that took so long for people to realize the WHO is literally funded by the Communist Party, like what the fuck, guys? Like how we're not just looking into stuff more. When you have that level of power, when you've made those allies, when you've made those threats, like you have the ability to say like, okay, well, I'm not going to let you know if I did it or not. Come at me and see what happens. Like what Trump does all the time, every single day as a president. So it's like, you can't be surprised when when we still don't know what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
And there's so much information being thrown.
That's the thing. There's so much information that you don't know what to believe. And I think that's like the problem. You know? It's like not mentally. What?
No, it doesn't make any sense. It literally.
Oh, well, yeah.
The Etch-a-Sketch in my mind is like a hot mess with this, right? Stools everywhere. Yeah. Well, kind of fits into everything. But I like what you said about like the devil's advocate. Like, is the video really just?
Yeah, because like at the end of this,
to push Democrat, like
right, like at the end of this documentary, like thank God I have a brain. Like, like thank God like there are people out there, hopefully like us, that are like, all right, like I finished this. Is this real, or is this like what? Like I'm not trying to believe 100% of what is in this documentary, because like that's not.
Right. Well,
everyone has an agenda.
Everyone commercial and being like, oh, those little bears live somewhere in America. Like, well, guys, I'm sorry, but that's the truth. Like, if you can get these cute little bears, like that's marketing. This is how the marketing world works. That's why I think that you're at a disadvantage if you really don't understand like the way marketing happens.
But just take this a step back. This was on Facebook, and you know the Facebook audience, right? So, as someone that can thankfully like think and research, even though I didn't really research outside of this.
We're taking information
taking information, whatever. A lot of like, just for example, like my parents, like they see shit on Facebook and they're like, is like, look at this. And I'm like, this isn't real. I literally just debunked it in 5 seconds when I Googled it. But like to have this 1.5 hour documentary on Facebook when the world already is chaos about the coronavirus and COVID-19 and everything.
Oh yeah. There's an intention behind it.
Right. So at the end of this documentary, the guy goes and praises the hell out of, I feel like, democracy. Like the American. Which
obviously doesn't get you far, because look at our situation right now.
Right. The American democracy. And I'm like, it doesn't, like, the American democracy right now doesn't feel democratic.
Right.
Like,
It's still just as, like, the idea of democracy is a beautiful idea. And we are very lucky to have the rights that we have. Like, we are totally know that. Like, yay, America for that. But when your democracy is, like, when it's Wizard of Oz democracy, there's a problem.
Right. So at the end, they lost me. I was like, I mean, I knew this was about the Communist Party, but I was like, I mean, like, you can't just, like, all of a sudden push your agenda right at the end without, like...
Is the information, do I consider it valuable, like...
Yeah, it opened my eyes to, like, figure out who this woman was, like, who the doctor was, like,
that... There's some valid information in it.
Yes. But do I believe 100% of it? No.
Take the pieces of it, 100%. Like, there you have to pick and choose.
Right. Like, I feel like once people, like, ingest all in, like, an information, like a documentary like this, like, for an hour and a half, they feel like it's all or nothing. I feel like that's the mentality that a lot of people have. It's like,
that's the way our brains work.
Right. Like, you watch a movie, you watch a TV show, you watch whatever, it's like all or nothing. Like, you can't take bits and pieces of it, be like, I like this part, and I think this is real, but I don't think 75% of this is real. Like, that's okay too.
And that's like, you're right though, because you watch a TV show and you're like, I know it's not real, but I still am crying, or I know it's not real, but I'm still angry. And like, that even carries away into, like, our pure imagination. Like, you have those, I have those moments where, like, I'll have a dream and I'll wake up from a dream and I'm in, like, a cold sweat, or, like, I'll wake up from a dream and I'll be, like, crying and, like, why am I sad? Or, like, you know, like, your imagination takes you there, and good, I'm gonna use the word again, good marketing goes into, like, taps into the way you feel, right? So if people are scared and angry and are looking for a reason, this did a great job of giving them something to be mad at, right?
For sure. And then then my next, like, question was, like, is this possibly to create, like, xenophobia, like, against, like, you know, the Chinese again?
Oh, that would be so unfortunate.
But, like, if you think about the way it's presented, and this is for an American public to, like, ingest, they're all about anti-China.
And it definitely makes a villain out of everybody.
Right, and it's not right. Like, it's not. Yeah. This isn't.
There was no sympathy for the people, like, of the Chinese population that were, like, victimized through it all. That's for sure.
Right. There shouldn't be any fear against, like, China. Like,
no,
I guess
there should be fear against, like,
the people in power,
powerful political systems.
Right. It's the people in power, but not, like, the Chinese people. Does that make sense?
Right.
It's just like
they're honestly, considering, like, the government forces that they're living under anyway, those people we at least get the ability to walk outside of our house and, like, to have this podcast. Like, they don't get those darts on a daily basis. So imagine what their lives on a day-to-day are like right now. Like, did you see
Wuhan finally, like, is out of quarantine, and how still so scared they are of being around people?
That's gonna be
us.
Yeah.
To some extent, obviously, like.
But that's the thing. Like, they have to. This is the second time they're trying, right? Because didn't they try to not quarantine and then they had another outbreak?
I think maybe someone can fact check us on that, but they're fully open now, I think. But even so, like, it's scary still, because, like, no one has a cure for this yet, so they're still being very precautious.
And there potentially might not be an actual cure. I hate that word. I think it's so important, but I hate that word because everybody, like, attaches to it.
Cure? Yeah,
and it's a lot of, like, especially for what I see, there's a lot of, like, instant gratification attached to it.
Yeah, because once you find a cure, it's like, all right, tomorrow, like, I can just go out and do shit.
Yeah, and, like, there's no need to change habits. So, like, when I see it, and I mean, like, I'm not a medical professional, so I never use the word cure, but, like, I use, like, oh, you're dealing with these symptoms, here's how you can alleviate it. Here's how you can overcome, like, pain, discomfort, injury, whatever. And, like, when
that's a better word.
People constantly ask me, like, I'm dealing with this, how do I make it better? And I'm like, well, this is what it takes. And they're like, there's nothing I can do just, like, to make it go away. And I'm like, that's not how the body works.
Well, that's
not how nature works. That's literally not how nature works. You want a plant to grow, you're gonna fucking do something to it consistently, and you gotta wait. And you gotta be patient. You want things to, even the fall when things are starting to like, not even like die, but like even the process of literally death doesn't happen instantly without like external circumstances. Like there's a process to it that something has to be done. And like clearly COVID is a perfect example of that, because you want a not human like affecting virus to turn into like this crazy mutant that's attacking the world. Something has to happen. It's a process.
Yeah. Damn.
I get very, this is how I really see that technology has killed us. The instant gratification, 100%.
I was going to say, because that's our culture now, is like, I can get you an answer to a question by Googling in 5 seconds.
No,
Why?
I'm not saying this as like, I'm like, I don't do that. Like, that's definitely not. Like, I definitely fall victim to it all the time. Like, if I couldn't Zoom Maria and see her face instantly, I'd be really mad. When technology doesn't work, I get really mad.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't we all? Like, even if my Wi-Fi doesn't work for 2 seconds, I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
I feel so disconnected.
That cannot carry over into like your health and wellness.
No.
It cannot carry over. That's not how the body works.
No.
Not how nature works.
Mm-mm.
But so many things, man.
I know, and this documentary and like all these conspiracy theories kind of like aid, like I think what you said before, like they aid into like finding someone to blame within seconds.
Yeah. That's human existence, right? We want an answer. We want to like it goes back to like the philosophic like age-old question of like what happens when we die, right?
We
and
can go on about that,
but that's really what it comes down to, right? People,
what it boils down to is like, all right, people are gonna die,
right? And they want to know, how can I avoid it, right? They want to know more about it, and like it's the beauty of like what humans have, like this beautiful gift and ability to do, which is like question things, but it's also like this very hard like reality to face, where because we have science, because we have technology, we think we can figure out the answers to everything, and there are just some things especially that require more patience and time and that we might not have an answer for. And like if COVID ends up, and there's like not handling it properly, like I cannot, like, again, thank God I'm not somebody who has to be able to handle this, but like just being honest with people and like really not letting bullshit get communicated, and like having a better handle on the media. Like I can't believe the shit that they're able to do and all this. It's absolutely ridiculous.
I can't even fathom, honestly.
Just being able to appropriately handle information and spread the information like that, and say this is a part of being human, and just raise people with more awareness of that.
I know, it's hard.
It's got it like this,
it's hard because like it's not under your control. It's other people's minds that you have to abide to. Basically, at the end
of the day, all that we can do is just take care of ourselves with it. You know, like days when I get really, that's why I haven't watched the news in a very long time. I can't bring myself to do it. It's very frustrating. I don't want to know.
I don't want to know either.
I'll find out. And honestly, even if it's not important, I'm going to see a meme about it, so it's fine. And like I just don't want to. And you have to figure out what works for you. Like this is the first. You are an audience, like a person that I can have a conversation with about this, where it feels comfortable, where it doesn't feel scary, where like we feel like real people, and I'm still grounded and not afraid, right?
Right, and even if we do have differing opinions, like
it can still be.
It's not like someone's gonna like yell. Like we're not gonna yell at each other and like have visceral argument like of people on politics and like whatnot.
Right, and this is the first time in a while that I like actually talked about it.
Same, so, like I don't talk about this.
Putting yourself in a situation where you feel comfortable, where you feel okay to talk about it, and actually talking about it and addressing it, and being able to, realize like, yes, this is happening. Yes, the world is going to change, but like people overcome everything all the time. Like that's the wonderful thing that we have the ability to do, and you can do it for yourself and you can help other people. And if you need help doing it and figuring it out, there are people out there who want to help you.
Right. That aren't against you. Yeah.
You have to find your people. You have to find the right people. And you're going to find those people during this time.
For sure.
You're either going to realize, why was I ever involved with this group of people or this person? Or you're going to be like, I need to distance myself from you for a little while. Or you're going to be like, okay, there's a light over there. Let me get closer to it. Right.
And I feel like a lot of people are going through that now.
Yeah.
But I think it's so mentally tolling if you haven't done it before.
That's yes. This is the mental like awakening of human existence. I think that's why this is happening. I think
That's a very big statement.
That's the only sane reason that I can come to.
Yeah.
In having a purpose for all of this. I think that we have to shift and address how we live and what we're doing to the world and within the world and to one another.
Yeah.
And the way that we define, especially in our country and maybe other countries too, the way that we just define success and the way that we define life and like all of these major questions that are coming into play, like on like the sub levels of everything that's going on right now, I think that's why. And we have to find a reason to get out of it. And that's a better future for that. Until we stop with the bullshit, that's not going to happen. So this could take a turn for like totally different direction. But like that's what I see coming out of this. That could be possibly something better.
Yeah. I mean,
what are your theories? Tell me your theories on things.
On like this, what, COVID?
Yeah, on everything.
Like the outcome of it, like how this is gonna, like my theory on like all this.
Sure, go for it.
Like the only thing that I think about like this whole situation is like the timeline of when quarantine is gonna end, right? Like, and my thought process is that if Wuhan was quarantined for I think 75 days. I think it was 75. Yeah.
That's
so 75 days
from that number. So my stomach just fell into my.
Because like, all right, so taking like my timeline, 75 days is what, 3 months? Say 3 months. Let's just say 3 months, just to make my math easier.
We can round it up. Yes.
Say 3 months and we're quarantined, right? I started March 15th. I only remember this because it was the March 15th deadline for us. March, April, May, June 15th. Right? Like that would be, no, wait. I can't count. May?
Well, technically when we're done, when we're supposed to be opening back up in Jersey, right? Would be
May
that
15th.
timeline.
Well, yeah. All of March, all of April, all of May. So yeah, May 15th.
Yeah, May 16th is when the schools right now are being told that they can open again.
Right.
In Jersey. Yeah.
I don't believe that.
Tentatively. That's the problem. I think they're giving people an answer because they want an answer instead of actually telling them the truth and saying schools are not going to open back up again.
Right. And like, so my theory is that that's false. Like that, I feel like it will be like June 15th, like July 15th. But so the only news that I follow like day in, day out is like Twitter news from like just our governor, who I think is doing a really great job, to be quite honest with you. And
he was sick himself too, so like that.
He just got out of surgery after like before all this.
Right.
So, I think the only thing that I think about is like our timeline of like when this is gonna end, and by end I mean like stores can start opening up. Like once this is over, I'm not gonna go out for another like couple weeks because my mom works at the hospital. Like I'm not trying to whatever, but. My theory is, and from what my mom's understanding is of viruses, and because, she's been in healthcare since the 80s, like, and probably knows a shit ton more because she works in different units throughout her career. She thinks that because viruses can't really and this is a very common theory too, like the heat will kill it all.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing I can kind of base it off of from her understanding of like health and whatnot and like all this, that like the summer is when we'll start like seeing things open up again.
I agree with that. That's what I started saying. Nothing survives New Jersey heat anyway, but then I've heard so much.
I can't even survive New Jersey heat.
Like, no, we don't do that. I've heard so much rebuttal on like, well, they're saying that nothing is going to bother, like that heat's not even going to affect this.
But
how is that even humanly possible? What is it like? What's his name from the guy that the guy that goes on flames in
what?
Fantastic Four. What's his name?
I don't freaking remember. Honestly, I know I can see it. I don't know. Whatever.
Oh man, it's not possible for a virus to do that unless it's genetically modified to withstand temperatures.
Which again, I don't want to know if it did, if they did it or not.
We're gonna find out eventually anyway. But
so, also, obviously, like my mom knows a lot in healthcare. Blah blah. Also, I also take her shit with a grain of salt because like, whatever.
Yeah.
But if you look at the numbers,
no one really knows. Who the fuck knows?
No, but also if you look at the numbers of cases like around the world, like the countries that are in like the super hot like places right now, like African countries, I can't remember what, like the lower tiered ones that only have like 10 confirmed cases and they all got recovered, whatever, all in the heat. Like,
yeah. And you're
so
also
like,
talking about like better, you're all like, I know that there's been connections too of like the higher levels of pollution and the lower air quality, the more likely people are to suffer because people don't have strong respiratory systems to be able to deal with it anyway. New Jersey's a center for that, which is why we're hitting in New York, like places like that. But yeah,
right. And like, I feel like
it's so important.
And like, I don't know if people really understand that it's not the flu part that kills you. It's the respiratory. Like, this is more than like, it's the people that don't have strong lungs and like respiratory systems that are getting hit.
It's literally attacking, like the part that we can like look at and like the honing in that aspect is that your respiratory system does so much constant work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you need to have an immune system that's constantly in there to repair those cells that are constantly being damaged. And when you're talking about people who don't have a strong functioning system, you're talking about cells that are getting in there and attacking them, and then you don't have the immune system to support fighting back.
Yeah.
That's where you are perfectly aligned to be able to have an issue, which is why people who they say like if you have a weakened respiratory system, if you have asthma, right, you without anything getting into your system, right, just the environment that you're in is affecting your lungs and you have a hard time and you struggle, this is going to be harder for you because it's attacking you. Separate of that, right, if you're somebody who, like my father, like if you're somebody who's had chemo, if your immune system has been attacked in any way or you have immunodeficiencies, your body is not going to be able to fight back regardless of whether it's in your respiratory system or not. So if you're putting all of these things into alignment, you become like the stars align for you to become the perfect candidate to have an issue. And it's forcing people now to realize, like, am I actually healthy? Which is, again, something else that in the American culture we say, but we consider being healthy as like a physical aesthetic instead of actually looking at the inside of what's going on in our bodies.
Right, internal health, like besides like our physical health.
This is why America is effed with this. This is why America is being effed by it, because it's really shaking every false foundation of our country that we have is being totally like just shaken and disturbed because of this. And that's why people are losing their shits. And I don't blame them. Like, it's not their fault.
Either.
The culture that we've cultivated is our fault.
I don't blame them. I blame the people in power that don't have the ability to calm everyone down.
Right.
Which is why I applaud our governor.
Yeah.
Because with all of his tweets and all of his daily, like, what the hell is the word? Like, just daily, like, news coverage that he does, like, the press conferences that he does, he at least gives the New Jersey people comfort that he has a plan. Like, he's fighting to keep everyone healthy as best as he can. Like, yes, that sucks, but also, like, I know he's doing the best he can because it's viable and, like, I can believe him.
Yeah.
Like, for the other governors, like in Georgia, have you heard about Georgia? Yeah. And like the other states and like, you know, the federal government and like the wishy-washy of like all those people, like it's just like that sucks. And like that's why
what is very transparent is that you do not have the best interests of your communities at the center of your plans.
And like for democracy, and this goes
the same thing.
Right, and this goes back to the documentary. Like, democracy should be for your people. Like, right? Like, that is what democracy is for. But if you get wishy-washy governors and, like, senators and congressmen and, like, you know, the federal government, whatever.
Their heads up their asses really far. Yep.
And are only
don't know how to consider other people.
Right, and they're only thinking about the re-election because it is an election year. Like, people, like...
Which is the worst part of all of this.
Which is the worst part about it because, like, it shouldn't be... that shouldn't take a forefront compared to, like, people's health. Like, it's public health. Like, I don't care, like, that it's an election year. Like,
I hope the election doesn't even happen. You want to know what I want to happen? Let me tell you what I want to happen.
What's your theory now?
I want people to get just cleaned out of politics. I just want us to be like, all right, here's democracy at its finest. You're all gone. We're doing it. And some people to be able to devise, like, a better plan of, like, redefining our systems. It's funny because I'm so opposite of you. I am super not living in the future. And I think or like thinking about the future of it. And I think there's a reason why. When I struggle with anxiety, and when I was struggling a lot with everything that I was struggling with in terms of mental health, my causes, my like triggers were doing that.
Looking to the future?
Like overly obsessing and worrying about what the future was going to look like.
Okay.
And like, not to the extent of like dying, but like, cause that part I'm fine with. But not that I'm fine with it, but still.
That's a different topic.
About, like, oh my goodness, what's going to happen? What if this doesn't happen? What if I can't do that? Like, I would obsess over that. And then I would get really hard on myself and like just freak myself out. So I try really hard not to actively do that anymore and just live like day by day. But where I spend time like obsessing is I want to know how did this happen?
The past?
Because I believe, which is funny, like to hear from like a person who like doesn't like history.
Seriously.
Like I don't know. I don't think I don't like history. I don't think I liked the experiences that I had in how I was learning history. That is why. Because I am interested in history. It just like, it depends on the approach. Like there has to be like an inquisitive reason to really look back. And I think that this is a perfect example to do that. But I really want to know how this happened. Like I want to know how we got here. And like, that's what I'm more.
To prevent for future references?
And like, just to have a better grasp on it. And like wanting to know more about the what happened versus the what is going to happen. Because I feel like the what is going to happen, there's just going to be no answer is going to be like to bring me solace.
No.
I feel like there's just no clear path to walk down right now, and it's just overwhelming.
Yeah.
So that's fine. So the two of us being together is perfect because I'll keep looking into what had, and you will keep looking into what and we'll manage each other as we walk.
I guess, yeah, because there's nothing we can do, I think, and then that's what's killing a lot of people. We can't do anything but like abide to whatever our government is telling us.
Yeah, which seems ironic in a democracy.
Yeah, for sure. But it's a global pandemic, right? Like
right. Which is at the end of the day, like that's why we have these systems really in places to be able to handle an emergency, right? That's why our government's there. And when you do it in a way that displeases the majority of your population, then it should be a red flag to say, okay, obviously we need to change something. So hopefully that's what comes of this.
Mm-hmm. We'll see. Again, we don't know.
I'm crossing my fingers. I'm not holding my breath, but I'm crossing my fingers.
Seriously. Agreed.
Oh man.
Yep. All right.
Okay.
Anything else?
We did this. We talked about stuff. I'm sure that by the next time we talk to each other, there'll be 30 other conspiracy theories that exist.
I know. There's so many that just come up every so often.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see what we talk about next week.
Yeah.
Or whenever we film, because our filming schedule.
Yeah, coronavirus has thrown off more than just the daily life. Our filming is all over the place. My schedule is very dumb.
I don't know how busy you are still. Are you more busy than you are before? Damn.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Like, I mean, I feel very grateful. Like, I'm very fortunate to be in the situation that I am, where I'm able to, like, have income, where I'm able to help people, or, like, I'm very, very grateful for that. But it's very taxing because I have a very hard time, like, because I don't leave the house, like, I really have to be very active and, like, pulling myself out of overwhelming myself with things, you know? So, like, when I spend hours and hours on computers or like on like calls,
that's not you. Yeah.
On my computer, like I do not want that.
No.
So like it's definitely
a struggle.
Yeah. But it makes me such a the hardest thing about this is like everybody's having an individual experience, and I don't like, you don't want to sound ungrateful, right? I'm so lucky to be able to make money, but at the same time, it's also really, really hard to keep doing what I'm doing to make money. And like, I could make the choice to just stop. Like, I can't do that. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, it's a give and take.
Yeah, like
also it's much harder for you. It's much harder for you on a computer. I think it's much harder for everyone, even for myself, to do like client work on the computer and like do like conference calls on the computer, because like you're on a screen, like you're on a webcam, and I feel like there's more pressure for you to look and present yourself as like chipper, even though behind the scenes, like there's again a global pandemic. So it's like when you're off all your, you know, even this podcast, like once you're off all that, like your body just like, it just hurts. Because you're
there's
just
like a level of showmanship that has to be involved now, which is just like,
right. Right.
That's why this is nice, because we don't have to do that here.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. So join us to escape and dive further into what's going on and what you're experiencing in COVID, right? Because like it's an escape in a way, because you get to really just like be here.
Just like,
right? But,
do
like,
whatever.
It's like definitely very inquisitive of like wanting to learn more about what's going on. So we create a good space, Maria.
Yep. Good for us.
Welcome here. Even though, you know, I fumble over my words and I'm a hot mess, but like,
it is what it is
here. And I think it's awesome.
Absolutely.
Wins for us. Alrighty. Well, we'll find another day to schedule. Thank you for everybody who's joining us, whether you're watching us, listening to us, or any other ways that you get the Be More podcast. We appreciate you guys. We hope you're staying safe and well, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
Bye.
Okay, bye.